What's up guys, it's Johnny Candido of Candido Training HQ. Today's quick tip video is about a mental cue to help you prevent lumbar flexion or lower back rounding in the deadlift. Now I have made a video about lumbar flexion or preventing lower back rounding in general in the deadlift, and I recommend that you look at that if you haven't already. I'll include a link to it in the description. But what this video is on is it's for a specific scenario. What I see a lot of times and what I recently got in my form check service is someone who showed me a video where their first rep looks fine, but then their subsequent reps after the first rep, then their form ends up breaking down. And what happens is their setup is really what's messing them up. So this problem was a real life example from someone who submitted a form check to me, and what I told them to do was to contract their hip flexors before each rep. And this solved the issue because what happens is oftentimes you're able to control yourself for the first rep because you're able to brace your core and basically start from the top to the bottom as you set up for the deadlift. You brace your core and then you hinge at the hip and then you pull. But then for the subsequent reps, your hands are staying on the bar and then you're not able to tense your core unless if you focus on tightening those hip flexors, and then that puts you in a good position to then focus on hip extension out of the bottom position. See, that is the tricky part, is that sometimes people have the right amount of knee bend and their hips are back, but their core is not tight. They're not flexing at the hips to allow for that hip extension then. Instead, they're flexing at the spine to bring their hips back rather than flexing at the hips. And that's why I make that recommendation to focus on the contraction of your hip flexors as you set up. Or you can just imagine pulling your knees up towards your torso. Either way works and accomplishes the same goal. Now it's important to note that this is just a mental cue to help your setup before each rep, and it's not actually a cue that you want to use when you're actually lifting the weight. And I'm assuming that you're doing a conventional stance deadlift when I say that your hip flexors aren't actually going to help you lift the weight. That's just hip extension. Now I want to say that this is not necessarily the case for the sumo deadlift. You may feel your hip flexors active throughout the entire lift, not just the setup, and that's due to the fact that many of the muscles also involved in hip flexion are also involved in hip adduction and external rotation at the hips. So that's why in a sumo deadlift, since you have a wider stance and you're forcing your knees out, that you can feel some hip flexor soreness there. But for the conventional deadlift, you really won't feel this, and it's really just tighten your hip flexors just for the setup, and then you focus on contracting your glutes and of course knee extension as you begin the actual lift. Alright guys, that's it. I hope this quick tip was helpful. Make sure to like the video, support the channel, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching guys. Peace!